The Battleface podcast is broadcast live on Fridays and Sundays, and we encourage you to come hang out and chat with Bard and Dare live. Now, prepare to declare attacks. You are entering the Battle Phase. Hello everyone, you have entered the Battle Phase. It is I, the Midnight Bard, coming at you live real wild, here to light it up and set the world on fire. And joining me as always is everyone's favorite co-host, Dareinger, who's a picture-perfect face with the wild in his veins.
I was just going to do a line from Villain, but you took that away from me.
I suppose I did. I apologize.
It's done now.
It is done now. I can't really take it back. Yeah, this is.
We're old. We're so old now that by the time that you would have taken it back, we would be dead.
I don't think it's that easy to take back. Words are like toothpaste. It's really easy to get them out of the tube, but like putting them back in ain't so easy.
I didn't know where you were going with that, and I got scared. I just get scared when you say things now.
Words are like toothpaste. They go in your mouth. Hello everyone in the chat. Welcome to another episode of the Battle Phase, the weekly show where Dare and I talk about like the things that came across our spheres of interest, across our collective spheres of interest. And some of them were suggested by you guys here in the chat today, so I hope that you guys are ready for that. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to remove the wave background. Wow. And we're at the Battle Phase podcast slideshow.
Brought to you by Burger King.
Brought to you by Burger King.
Not sponsored.
No, not at all. Not yet, at least. One day Burger King will recognize.
Sponsored by Burger King, I'm going to be in trouble.
Yeah, same. I'm like, dude, like literally all the money they pay us is just going back into like chicken fries for me.
It's going right back into Burger King.
Yeah, really. I love chicken fries. But before we get started, I'd like to remind you guys, please remember to like, subscribe, and share. We're trying to grow our podcast. That way we can, invite some great and powerful people to be guest stars on our streams, such as Clobgore, the infinite creature from another dimension. He said he'd join us if we reached 100,000 subs. Clobgore.
I got scared that you had like a special guest for this for some reason. And I was like, who the fuck is Clobgore?
Clobgore, the infinite creature from another dimension. Yes, it's all knowing, and
Kozilek the distorted.
Yeah, like Kozilek. Yes. But other than that, are you watching something this week, there?
No.
Yes, you are. You're watching Synduality Noir.
So,
you talked to me about it. So now you're on the hook. Yeah. You got to tell us about it.
Oh God, so much pressure. Yeah, I watched the first episode of it, and it seems really good from what I saw.
Yeah.
So the main character there, they live in the future. They've got like these little metallic robot-looking dudes that are attacking them all the time, and they have these like mechs that they use to fight the dudes off. And the main character, which is the guy there in the orange, he's just kind of like your everyday average Joe type dude because he failed his mech pilot exam thing. And he randomly finds this girl. And girl turns out to be super computer AI genius. And they hook up to the robot thing, and he saves the planet. And that's episode 1.
I love it when girls that I'm interested in turn out to be super advanced AIs. That's like my type right there. That and really muscular Oni girls, just absolutely my kind. That's what I'm all about. As for me, this week, well, actually, for the past month, I've been watching One Piece. I finally decided to jump on the hype train, and I've made some strides into this anime, dude. Like
That that is a you problem there.
it is a massive undertaking, but I have made some serious strides because progress thus far. I have finished the East Blue Saga. I have finished the Alabasta Saga. I have finished the Sky Island Saga. And I'm presently at the beginning of the Water 7 Saga. If we
I
were
like
to.
that you are only up to 2004.
Yeah, only up to
You
2004,
still
right?
have 20 more years
Yes.
after that.
And to be exact, I'm in episode 215 of the dub, and I'll remind you that
20 more years of One Piece
they
Bard.
recently aired the what do you call it, the 1000th episode dub. So like I am far behind. Like there is no joke there. So like yes. However, this is something that I should say, and I'd like to welcome Vex to the chat. Additionally, I don't know if I shouted out Siggy and Gamma who are in
Yeah,
the chat.
I don't think you said hi to Siggy or Gamma.
Yeah, well, hello guys.
So
Hello. Yeah, I'm sorry. But yeah, so I'd like to point out that from 1997 to 2003, which is the end of the Sky Island saga, the show wasn't even in HD yet. So like the moment that we entered into 2004, the Long Ring Long Island, I was like, holy crap, it's HD now. Like, it was such a shock. I was like, wow. So like it was pretty insane. With that being said, I have like a list up here of like things that I feel about the show. The good, it the good, it's epic, but it doesn't take itself too seriously. A lot of shows that are epic take themselves extremely seriously, like to the point where it sometimes can kind of hinder your enjoyment whenever things get kind of like really whenever the stakes get really high. With One Piece, you can always count on one thing. Like, if the world is ending, Luffy's gonna do something stupid, and it's gonna be funny, and it's gonna immediately kind of like relieve your tension a little bit. Not always a lot, because we're gonna get to that, but also, it's got pretty great theming that it keeps consistent to throughout. One Piece basically being like, hey, freedom is something that people are born with, and anybody who tries to take your freedom for you needs to be stood up to, and that's something that is consistent throughout the show, always. Characters are likable. I mean, I haven't met a character I didn't like.
I didn't like Usopp.
At least in the crew, like Usopp to me was like one of those that I initially didn't like because of his character design. I felt like his character design made him kind of, compared to the rest of the crew, he looks the funniest, and therefore you kind of don't like him. However, he kind
My
of grows on you.
my issue is that like his weapon was a slingshot, and I was like, I don't that doesn't hurt. That just like hurts people. It doesn't kill people.
He does kind of like upgrade it because Usopp is basically like
Yeah,
the
I know. Eventually, he upgrades to like an actual weapon.
yeah. Well, I mean, he's an
I only ever
engineer.
watched. I
He-
only watched the 4 Kids episodes. So.
Right. Well, he's like the engineer of the group, so he's constantly innovating new things. Like for
Why
example,
do they need an engineer? They're on a boat. They don't even need trains.
funny. For example, he created Nami's weapon, her staff that makes weather. He has a tendency to repair the boat when the boat breaks. And like basically all kinds of innovation that just make life a lot easier. But anyway, we're getting off track with Usopp here.
Oh, we're getting off track.
Yes, imagine.
Uh-huh.
Because we don't have an engineer, so the train's just off track.
The fucking train's been off
We
track the whole
we
time.
came back. It's full circle. It's an anime that uses Looney Tunes logic. So like fights have a tendency to go like imagine if you replaced Luffy with Bugs Bunny, basically. Like that's the way the fights happen in One Piece, and it's funny and it's weird, but like at the same time it kind of adds on to that thing where it doesn't take itself too seriously. Like like whenever they're fighting the sand manipulator crocodile, and Luffy figures out, oh wait, he can't turn into sand if he gets splashed with water. So he just drinks like a gallon of water, so he balloons in size. And whenever he moves, you just kind of like hear the water sloshing around inside of him. Like it takes the edge off of like an otherwise like extremely serious thing, which is kind of necessary in One Piece because like some of the stories can get like really, really dramatic. And with that being juxtaposed with like the silly characters, it just kind of like creates this really weird balance where it's like this shouldn't work, but it does. But now that we've covered the good, let's talk about the not so good a little bit. So Luffy can be aggravating at sometimes, and it's like he creates new problems for the crew because sometimes like a villain will create like a very will put himself in a really bad situation, but Luffy's like so oblivious that he'll just basically kind of like, oh, are you in a bad situation? Well, I didn't notice, like, and so I let you go. Kind of like you remember when Goku let Vegeta go because
I was gonna say like he's basically just like a not as strong version of Goku.
yeah, like a not as strong version of Goku, like pure of heart, dumb of ass is exactly Luffy. So like there are so many bad situations that would have been resolved if he was just like not the absolute dumbest ever. But he always stands up for his friends and stuff like that. He's got a very honorable code that he sticks to. So characterization wise, it's on brand for him to make things worse for people before he makes them better. So I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at. Hello, Helix in the chat. Next up, no matter how gravely injured, all of the characters make full recoveries after a long rest, a D&D style. It's so freaking weird. Like, because there's been fights, and I mentioned this, or I was talking to somebody about this, where they were asking me, I was like, well, is it worth the hype? And as I'm kind of like explaining to them what I like and what I dislike about it, I didn't have like a lot of things to say I disliked until it like occurred to me. I was like, no, wait. There was a couple of episodes recently that I was in the middle of where Sanji and Usopp get injured and like so gravely injured that they're near death. Like everybody says, oh, they're near death, right? But then at the same time, they're like, okay, well, we'll leave them on the boat. There's crises that we have to tend to, so like they can stay on the boat and we'll come tend to them as soon as we can. But they basically like slept for like a day, and then they woke up and they're like, oh, our crew isn't here. We have to go rescue them. I'm like, have to go rescue them? An hour ago, you were near death. And, like, them being near death, like, means nothing because they go and rescue the crew and put on, like, this daring rescue. And I'm just like, you shouldn't have recovered from the injuries that you had an hour ago the way you did. That doesn't make sense. So, like, D&D logic, we took a long rest and now we're fine. Like, so dumb. And it would be one thing if it happened once. It seems to be the running theme that like we're gonna be near death and then we're gonna be fine. Let's see. It's very good, but yeah, some stories can kind of drag, and that's just inevitable. It's a long series. Sometimes you're kind of like, all right, can we get to the point? And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It is what it is. And then lastly, have here some characters have idiosyncrasies that can be very, very grating. Especially if they have like a long amount, a good chunk of screen time. There was a character called Arlong really early on who had like the most annoying laugh, but he was
that was the swordfish dude, wasn't he?
That was the swordfish dude, yes. So he had like the most annoying laugh, but the thing is, he was in so many episodes that's all he did for like so long that every time he started laughing, I'm like, oh my gosh, can somebody please beat him up now so that he can stop doing that? But yeah, so it's a good series. It really is. I understand that it's a huge undertaking to kind of like sit down and watch the whole thing. I don't know if I'm gonna in one shot, but I mean, I'm giving it my best shot, and thus far, I've enjoyed my journey with it. So I mean, like, there's a reason behind the hype, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, the next segment is brought to you by Brother Gamma Akutabi in the chat. He's been going absolutely ham on posting the new releases and the new reveals off of the new sets. whenever what's it called? Whenever they are posted. So in the server, he's been just like updating all of us on everything that Konami has been saying about the new set coming up, which is Age of Overlord. And we have quite a few number of cards that are looking to be pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. And the thing is, I don't think that I can, like we can go over all of them because there were quite a few this week. This was a week where they just told you everything, man. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if the whole set was revealed already. But yeah, so like basically what I did here is I compiled like a few that I was like, these are gonna be some of the more relevant ones. So that way, we don't have to like sit here and read Yu-Gi-Oh cards for like the next hour, right?
Yeah, because I know that we would do that.
We would do that, yes. So,
and by we, I mean you.
Yeah. Oh, you damn well know it. So thank you, Brother Gamma, for like reminding us of all of the card reveals. And here we go. So like the ones that I chose to talk about today were for starters. The Link 2 monster, SP Little Knight, which seems to be kind of like the next generation of IP Masquerena.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's like a S-Force support card.
It
as
is.
well as
It's
like an IP support card.
Yeah, that's right. It's Rampa Chiyomaru. So like Rampa Chiyomaru as a Link monster. She's a effect monster, a main deck effect monster in the S-Force archetype. So according to this card, it says, if this card is Link summoned using a Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link monster as material, you can target one card on the field or in either graveyard, banish that card. Also, during this turn, your monsters cannot attack directly. That's really whatever if you're going first, which I assume that you're going to make her going first because of her second effect, which says, whenever your opponent activates an effect, you can target 2 face-up monsters on the field, including a monster you control, banish those 2 monsters until the end phase. That is just good interaction. Like your opponent activates an effect and then you immediately just like nobody no, like just gotta like shut them out. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you may not make it going first, but it may be, like we said, it's an IP card. So you would just go into IP Masquerena and like another card, and then on your opponent's turn make this to like, because you could chain IP's effect to an opponent's monster activation, and then I believe Little Knight would still go.
It still maybe? Would go. I'll tell you what I feel like would make it more broken, and IP Masquerena doesn't do this. But like if IP Masquerena allowed you to use one monster that your opponent controls as material for a Link summon, this would immediately be a lot better. Because you're not only removing something using IP Masquerena, but you're also going into SP Little Knight, which allows you further interruptions. That said, I always like to go into something big with IP Masquerena because then it's unaffected by stuff, right? I feel like you're kind of wasting that if you go into SP Little Knight, but I understand why you would, because it's a quick effect. Link summon that then puts you into something that can remove something from your opponent's side of the field, and will also banish something in their graveyard. So yeah, I can understand why you would. It's almost like a trade-off. Like, what would you rather do? Interrupt more, or go into something bigger that your opponent's going to have a harder time dealing with? Usually the target for IP Masquerena's effect is to go into Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax. So yeah.
Yeah, wait, Avermax?
Yeah, Avermax. You go IP Masquerena plus other things into Avermax.
You go into you don't go into like Appaloosa?
With IP Masquerena, I mean, you could.
I've only ever seen people go into like Appaloosa.
Well, the reason that you would go into Avermax is because Avermax already hard to deal with because of his battle tricks, right? And then if you make him with IP Masquerena, suddenly he's even harder to deal with because you can't like get rid of him with card effects. So like you just put like this hulking towers of a monster there that will always smack for 3,000 no matter what. But yeah, I mean, like there's options. I'm not saying that my way is like the be all end all, but I mean, yeah, if you there's things you could.
I don't know about that.
Next one, here we go. Like we have Stellar Nemesis Typhon Doomsday Star. Everybody thought that this was like
It's actually typhoon, I believe is how it's pronounced.
Typhon Fever, baby. Everybody
Because
thought.
it's this is supposed to be a like I'm thinking it's supposed to be like the naming convention of like Greek uh, deities, and because in the post they had a thing written about how this one was named after Typhoon, which was a titan that was born from one of the gods.
Interesting. And I do have to say a couple of things here. Helix says, wait until you meet Don Flamingo. I just did. Secondly, he says, is this the set with the new runic monster I need? No, that's Duelist Nexus. Next up, we
That's the
have
set that comes out next week.
that comes out this next week. Yes. Next up, we have Idiotic Synergy in the chat. Hello, Idiotic Synergy. And thirdly, everybody thought that this was Zeus 2 because, you know, like Divine Arsenal Double A Zeus Sky Thunder, Stellar Nemesis Typhon, Doomsday Star. They're both level 12 monster or rank 12 monsters, right? With similar stat lines. We have Royal Gargoyle in the chat. Hello, Royal Gargoyle. Holding Dare hostage via voice again. You know how I do. But the effect on Typhon here, Typhon, T-Dog, says, you can also XC summon this card by using one monster you control with the highest attack during the turn or the next turn. With the highest attack. So this already has like a way that you could just special summon it on top of something the same way that you
like
do with Zeus. Yeah. During the turn or the next turn after, your opponent special summon 2 or more monsters from the extra deck. So kind of a weird thing because this means that you can XC summon it during your opponent's turn. So like if they special summon 2 things from the extra deck, you can slap this on top of something and then you transfer its materials to it. If you special summon it this way, you cannot normal or special summon monsters for the rest of the turn, which doesn't matter if you're doing it on your opponent's turn. Neither players, so the other effects say, neither player can activate the effects of monsters with 3,000 or more attack while you control this exceeds summon card. It's pretty good. And next up says, you can detach 1 material from this card and return 1 monster on the field to the hand. So it's like a miniature Baguska with not Baguska per se, but like, you know, it's a miniature skill drain on like, you know, weird on things with 3,000 or more attack.
I wouldn't say it's like a miniature one because it's actually like unless you have something that's either 2,900 or 2,950, you don't have a way to get around this without using like back row.
Right. So kind of it's got an interesting like floodgate effect and it's got like a bounce to boot. So like that's just 2 really good points of interaction against your opponent. And all I got to say about that is me like you very much.
And there's not a monster that has 2,950 attack, so you just have to like crash into it.
Yeah, you have to crash into it. I was thinking like, you know, if I were to face it with Labyrinth, lovely Labyrinth could crash into it and she could also still use her effect. But also Labyrinth would remove it with back row. So I mean, like, I don't even know what I'm fretting over. but yeah, you know, like I think the only thing that it would be missing to make it just like absolutely busted is like, oh yeah, things with 3,000 or more can't activate their effects. Also, they can't attack. So that way it would protect itself for being, you know, like 100 points smaller than them, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is like the only thing that it doesn't have going for it, which is weird. But yeah, you know, like so that's
just attack it with Eater of Millions.
With Eater of Millions, just remove it with yeah, so little things that have weird effects like that, like I would say like that or like, you know, the Unchained monsters all have like weird things that they can do to just remove it. Which reminds me, Unchained is getting new stuff in Duelist Nexus 2. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. It made the budget deck that cost like $20 cost like probably 30 or 40.
Yeah.
Maybe 50.
Well, I already have most of it, so it's just going to cost me whatever the new stuff is. Next up, we have one that I didn't expect to get like an upgrade so quickly, but Exceed the Pendulum.
I'm so excited for this card because it's so good.
Beyond the Pendulum was good, and I didn't expect that. This is within a year. Beyond the Pendulum gets an upgrade.
Yeah, because Beyond the Pendulum came out in Dimension Force.
Yeah,
which actually has it been? I feel like it's been longer than a year.
It's been roughly a year. But yeah, Exceed the Pendulum. It might be 2 years. And my perception of time is very flawed. But yeah,
I was gonna say I feel like it's been long. No, May 2022.
Okay, so yeah, a year roughly. But Exceed the Pendulum is a Link 3 light spellcaster Link monster that says, let's see, if this card is Link summoned, you can add one face-up Pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand. Already off to a good start. 2. It gains 100 attack for each Pendulum monster card you control. That's you could take it or leave it. At 2,000 attack, that 100 attack gain could be something that determines a battle.
2,500 at max.
At max, which is solid. That's solid. And then the last one says, during the main phase, if you have 2 cards in your Pendulum zone, quick effect, you can special summon one Pendulum monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position with a level between the Pendulum scales of cards in your Pendulum zone.
So it's like a pseudo Pendulum summon for a singular monster in your graveyard.
It is a pseudo Pendulum summon for something in your graveyard. That's not bad. At a quick effect speed, that's actually pretty good. So
yeah, the card's pretty good. Like the main thing that I like is it has 3 downward facing arrows, which for pendulums is something that you need to have.
Yeah.
Because to summon from the extra deck, you have to summon it to a zone that it points to, so that gives you 3 zones to summon to.
Right.
That's like one of the reasons why Celine is so good, is because she has 3 downward facing arrows.
Exactly, and this one has the same exact ones.
And then it has a similar effect where you can bring something back from the graveyard.
Yeah, go into your access code talker play.
The only thing, like the gaining 100 attack is not even a thing.
That's like
you're
whatever.
Not going to be attacking with this.
Yeah, no.
You're not going to be attacking with this. This is going to be on the field to get you your 1 summon back, and then maybe a pendulum summon, and then it's going to be put into like a bigger thing.
So I want to take a moment to acknowledge the chat, who has gone absolutely wild with like calling with names for like Tifon, because I called it Zeus 2, and we got Zeus 2 Electric Boogaloo. We got Siggybot saying T-Bone. Idiotic Synergy saying Zeus 2, a good day to Sue's hard. Metal Gear Zeus Revengeance. Zeus 2 Electric Boogaloo is pretty much Zeus 1, but more thunder. So like it's gone wild in the chat. It's pretty great.
I'll probably get my first Typhoon like in 2025.
Yeah,
so I just got my first Zeus from I think it was the Battles of Legend.
It must be Battles of Legend,
like a month ago.
Yeah, and what do you call it? Now it's coming like as a freebie in the 2-player starter deck, right?
Is it gonna be like a common or?
Well, it comes with it. It's a starter deck, so you're gonna get it regardless.
Yeah, but it's like a common.
Oh well, that I can't tell you. So I mean, like it's common in the sense that you're gonna get it, but like the rarity itself, I'm not sure.
But is it like a common though?
Nah,
I don't want to play with a common.
Well,
I have a secret rare. A secret rare is better.
Well, use your secret rare in that case. And then the last monster that I wanted to discuss here is one that I'm excited for because I play Labyrinth, but Arias the Labyrinth Butler. This kind of was.
You're the only one that plays Labyrinth.
I know that Gamma has Labyrinth stuff in the chat. I know that Somber in the server wants to play Labyrinth. Yeah, I know that you built Labyrinth. I play Labyrinth. This is a good deck. Labyrinth is just a good deck. And this one, it kind of like sparked a little bit of a discussion in the server because it's one of those cards that allows you to play on turn 0, allows you to set up, because it has 2 incredibly powerful effects. And, like much like another deck that allows you to play on on turn 0, Tier Elements, people are kind of worried that this is kind of like the beginning of Yu-Gi-Oh! Entering a new stage where every deck will have moves that it can make on turn 0 to set up their own board. And it was something that I asked where it's like, what do you guys feel about that? Because before it used to be, Yu-Gi-Oh! Used to be like, all right, turn 1, I play my turn, I pass turn 2, you play your turn, and then we kind of go from there. But now it's basically like turn 1, the first player will attempt to build a board, while the other player on their turn 0 will activate cards and effects that will either disrupt them or otherwise gain them advantage. And it's kind of, it lends itself into something that we're going to discuss here in a little bit. But me personally, I think Arias is a pretty solid card for Labyrinth. And what it says is, during the main phase, you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard. Send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard, yeah. And then from your hand, either special summon 1 Labyrinth monster or set 1 normal trap that can be activated this turn. That's already very powerful. And then the second effect says, when your opponent activates a card or effect in response to the activation of a Labyrinth card, except the effect of Arias the Labyrinth Butler, or a normal trap card or effect, and this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. So not only does it special summon or set something from your hand that's instantly usable, but also it will recycle itself if your opponent activates something in response to something that you do. So like that's just good. It is so hard for me to find a flaw in this, except for one thing. You'll notice that the second effect says when, which if I'm not mistaken, that's written in a way that can miss the timing.
Yeah, when effects are really good, because when effects. The thing that I'm disappointed about is that this is one of the 2 silhouettes on Big Welcome Labyrinth, and everyone was hoping that we would get the other one revealed after this, and we didn't.
We didn't yet. I don't think that the entire set has been revealed yet. So
no, it hasn't been. But people were hoping it'd be like the day after.
Yeah, like one and then the other.
It's been like 3 or 4 days now.
Yeah, but
it's hard, and
just like the amount of things that you could do with this, like your opponent starts summoning a bunch of stuff, and using Arias, you can discard Arias and then immediately set like a torrential tribute before they like put their big negator on field. And
if you have a torrential tribute in hand,
like so like now they have to contend with that, like now they have to keep in mind, well, my opponent has set a trap and I know what it is. The question is, do I proceed or do I stop here and just kind of save as many resources as I can? It's just really good. Additionally, you can set your Welcome Labyrinth or your Big Welcome Labyrinth, so that way your big boss monster ends up being what's it called on the field,
I think the problem I see with it, which it's not a huge problem, is that whenever you activate its effect, it only does things from hand. If it did things from hand or deck, that would be extremely, extremely good.
Yeah.
But this requires you to have something in hand that's like playable in that situation. Because if you don't have a Big Welcome Labyrinth or a Welcome Labyrinth or Torrential Tribute or something to summon off of it, then it's just basically a dead card.
Yeah. So, that's basically where we're at. And we're just kind of like moving on to something, because like we were discussing something about like, a turn 0 play, which this Labyrinth card enables. Konami recently had a stockholder meeting where the stockholders were basically talking to Konami, the company, telling them, hey, here's the thing. We're not getting new players, and players who are playing on Master Duel and then trying to transfer over to paper play aren't sticking around. Like they show up and then they leave. They don't stick around for playing on paper. And it's just like a real concern. A lot of the things that were brought up, and I kind of got like my information from this Team APS video that's on the screen right now. But a lot of the things that were brought up is for one thing, Yu-Gi-Oh is a complicated game, and watching Yu-Gi-Oh can sometimes be really confusing. And for the people who know what's happening, they kind of see it as being like a one-sided thing. Usually like one guy will just pop off and the other guy will be completely locked out. So with all of those things said, and like with new generations not knowing where to start or how to start playing or how to play well, um, this kind of ended up being like a big question. Now, the president of Konami Digital Entertainment, who was there at the meeting, his name was Hideki Hayakawa, said that okay, yeah, we understand, and we take it very seriously. We want to have new players. We want to be able to retain those new players. So these things that you're bringing up are very real concerns for us, and we want to make sure that we do this well. So apparently, according to him, they have different things going on in the works to kind of like make Yu-Gi-Oh an easier game to understand, a more entertaining game to watch, and a game that new players who get into the game are willing to stick around instead of just coming in saying, this is confusing," and then leaving. So yeah, this is kind of like something that came up over the week, and I thought the video was really interesting, and I kind of wanted to get your take on it. There, what do you think about that?
Well, I was talking to you about it a little bit, where I told you I'd watched MBT's video
Mm-hmm.
on it, and I haven't seen Team APS's video, but he started off the video by saying, "Paul, you have to give me at least a day to." So I'm assuming his points were very similar, but uh, yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh in the current state is very difficult. The format on Master Duel is a best of one, whereas uh, Yu-Gi-Oh is a best of three in both the TCG and OCG, and then you have the fact that there's not a consistent ban list between the three,
Mm-mm.
because Master Duel's ban list is uh, a mixture of OCG, TCG, and its like own problem cards being hit.
Yeah.
Um, there's also the fact that like Master Duel is 2 or 3 months behind in
Yeah.
sets, if not more. So you have an issue where uh, if you're playing in the TCG or the OCG, you have these cards months and months and months ahead of Master Duel.
Yeah.
And by the time they get to Master Duel, it's like these cards are no longer viable because, like with tier elements, they got like slaughtered even before they got to Master Duel because it was such a problem in the TCG and OCG.
Yeah. And
Like,
something that I kind of wanted to like add on to what you're saying here is that because we keep comparing it to Master Duel, and I just want to say that Master Duel, on top of that, is kind of like a completely different experience. Because Master Duel
yeah,
keeps track of a lot of things that you normally wouldn't keep track of, like effect resolutions, and it has
when
like
you can activate effects.
when you can activate effects. It's got like they've added so many quality of life changes too, which Paul brought up on this APS video, where it's like like now there's check marks next to like card effects to let you know whether or not that effect was used already. And like the imperm column becomes highlighted, that way not to touch the imperm column. And the different monster attacks are taken are tallied onto to your monsters, without you having to keep track of what's at what attack power based on buffs. So yeah, it's a huge difference, and like imagine going from a simulator that gives you all of those things to going to play at your locals where you don't have all of those things and you have to keep track of them yourself. It feels almost like you're downgrading a little bit.
Well, it actually, you saying that kind of reminded me of a video I watched not too long ago. It was about why people hate, in quotation marks, Supreme Commander 2. And in that, they said it's not a bad game. It's just, it's so different from the original Supreme Commanders that, like, there are people who like it, and there's people who are like, this is not a sequel to the game I like. And And in the same respect, like Master Duel is not Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG/OCG because
No.
it's something so completely different.
Yeah.
It's a different format and a different ban list, and it it, you can't go from Master Duel to playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Easily, and I think that's why people have so much difficulty is because they played Master Duel first because it was something that they played in as a child. They played like Playground Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
They pick up Master Duel and then they try to go to locals and they realize, well, I can't play Max C. I can't play this. I can't play that.
Right. Right. And so it's kind of a huge thing. Now they have mentioned that they're putting things together to make sure that players who start playing at their locals and at events and things like that are retained. And I do see like Konami has been making efforts towards that. For example, and I don't know if this is like something that they just planned ahead of time, and it happens to be the case that like now is when things are kind of like coming together for it. But like the two-player starter deck. Additionally, like recently they had like a in-person event where Edison was a playable format. Which a lot of the Yugi tubers that have had a video out on this specific topic had mentioned that probably the best way to resolve this issue is to create different formats, some of them that are new player friendly or friendlier towards new players, etc. Um, so I mean, like that, yeah, kinda. It feels weird that like it wouldn't be something that we considered. And I understand, like like if you've played Yu-Gi-Oh forever and like the master rule is what I know why you wouldn't want for that to go away, and I know why you wouldn't want for that to be a different thing, because you're invested. This is what you do. This is how you play. But it's also kind of one of those things where it's like you have to recognize that, like there are new players who just aren't up to your level, and expecting them to come in and be able to hold their own against you. Uh, when you've had years and years of just like being accustomed to the way that Yu-Gi-Oh plays, it just kind of it feels a little unfair. That would be like some kid like fresh out of high school decides to be an MMA fighter, but they're like, yeah, okay, so if you want to be an MMA fighter, let's just put you directly into the octagon instead of like putting him through like the proper channel so that he can learn how to fight. So that's kind of
Well,
what it is.
a point that MBT brought up was if you look at like a new video game whenever it comes out, the top streamers on Twitch, like all of them will play that because that's what people want to see. They want to see the new video game. And when Master Duel came out, you had the top streamers like attempt to play it,
Yeah.
but so many of them just stopped because it was too difficult of a game just to pick up.
Yeah, it's
And I think that's another thing is that like old school playground Yu-Gi-Oh, where it was like Legend of Blue Eyes, the 25th anniversary set,
mm,
like those, like that era of Yu-Gi-Oh was simple and easy to pick up and learn, and they just you can't play that way anymore.
can I
And
just put a hot take out there though? Like
nope.
playground Yu-Gi-Oh is so boring to me. Like like a caveman Yu-Gi-Oh. Like hey, I normal summon a vanilla, and my vanilla has the highest attack stat on the field at the moment. So unless you can draw something that's exactly 100 points higher than it, then you can't get over this beater. You know?
Well, I'm not a fan of like old formats the way it is. Like I don't care if it's Goat or Edison or any of that. Like old formats are just kind of boring to me.
Hmm.
It's because like with the current format, it's at least somewhat diverse. Whereas like Goat, you're gonna see like the same probably 20, 30 cards in a deck,
Yeah.
and then like 10 to 15 of something else.
Yeah.
Like my clown control deck is the exact same as my burn deck,
Hmm.
aside from one plays like a couple burn spells and the other one plays clowns.
Yeah. it is what it is, and like Helix says that pushing Time Wizard format wouldn't be so bad. I agree. Like because here's the thing, I didn't like Tier Elements format, right? But I liked formats before it. Like I liked early
Well, like a lot of
2020.
people love Toss.
Yeah,
A lot of people love Toss, and I
yeah.
don't know why they don't do more Toss format
And
stuff.
it doesn't have to specifically be that. And like this is something that I replied to this APS video with, because his question was like, well, how would you fix it? And I was like, I'll tell you one thing that Master Duel does that you can easily translate it into like an in-person event and it still works. And that's like the festivals. You could have a synchro festival. You can have an Xyz festival. You can have like what they're doing right now, only fiends and fairies allowed. Like just kind of like whenever you're having like an event, like create a specific band list for that event. But obviously don't do it like the weekend before and then expect everybody to show up with something crafted, right? But like, tell them 4 months in advance. Hey, this event will be here and this will be the band list for it, as
Yeah,
opposed to just like playing the usual master rule. Of course, have master rule events, so that people can play like the eternal format if they want to, but like also like spice it up. That way people will be like, hey, are you gonna watch the YCS, I don't know, the YCS New York, Philadelphia, wherever? And people will be like, I don't know, well, what's the theme? Well, okay, well, this time the theme is like I don't know, rivalry of warlords. You can only have one type of monster, or like we're doing a time wizard thing, or we're doing like this and that. So it kind of like creates variety in a way that like it creates excitement. And also with a curated ban list, you don't have to worry about seeing like the same blowouts or the same floodgates every single time. um
yeah.
but that's my take on it. I don't know if you had something that you wanted to add to that.
No, like I said, it's pretty much just like Konami needs to like change a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they're actually admitting that yes, they have a problem with retaining people,
Hmm.
but I don't know if I don't know. Like I want to see more people play Yu-Gi-Oh. I
Same.
want to see more people get into it, but
Agreed.
it's it's a complicated situation to have because you can't just be like, well, here's what we're gonna do and it's gonna work
Yeah.
because you may do it and it may not work.
Right, right. So here we go. Like we're gonna move on to the next one because I feel like this is something that we could talk about forever. But the next slide. This is just kind of like a cool thing, like nothing to go too in depth over. But there was a hero player in the last NAWCQ who got into the top 32 playing heroes, which has for the longest time just been like constantly a rogue deck. Like because here's the thing, like like decks it's one thing to be like meta and then just like not be meta anymore, but to stay in rogue for as long as hero stays in rogue is a testament to how strong hero is. So
Yeah,
this player got like top 32 playing heroes, which is exciting because that's a GX archetype. That's an old school archetype, and he made a YouTube channel. So he's on YouTube now, and it's fun. He's got 2 videos up. I think I checked out his channel earlier, and I forget what his first name is. Nathan. It's Nathan Christmas. So his YouTube channel is Christmas Hero. So kind of a fun thing, kind of a wholesome thing, like hey, it's nice to see someone get really high in an event with a deck that they love, and not necessarily like just the best deck, but like just a fun deck.
yeah, and like you said, Heroes has been like a fan favorite deck for a long time,
Yeah,
so it's good to see that it actually did well in an event.
agreed. And compared to like all the other stuff that's out there, because like to get top 32, that he had to contend with the usual crap. He had to go against Cash. He had to go against like Tier. He had to go against Sprite. He had to go against like just everything, and he still made it to top 32. That's awesome to see. I would be curious to see what his deck list looks like, but
You can probably find it somewhere.
I'll look around, see if I can find it. Okay, so next up, we had a slide here for Siggy. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us in the chat, but
I was
so
gonna say that sounds really bad.
yeah. So it says here, Digimon Store Championship 2023 pack contents revealed. So like just like, whenever you play any card game, you get a participation pack whenever you enter into what do you call it, a tournament.
Yeah.
Digimon does the same thing, and it's got some pretty decent cards on there. It's got Omnimon Merciful Mode. It's got Ordanimon. It's got a a tamer card known only as Cool Boy, and just a bunch of other really cool things. So this is kind of exciting, like knowing what's in these packs, and it looks like all of them are kind of like an exclusive gold rarity. So fun,
Gold rares. Yeah.
yeah. Moving on from that, I guess this is the last little bit of TCG news that we had, and this is the Planeswalker Party deck revealed on Weekly MTG. So like their Commander
Okay,
Masters.
so I know about this.
Okay.
They are releasing 4 new decks,
Mm-hmm.
which are just fucking insane because they have the Sliver deck,
Mm-hmm.
the Eldrazi deck. There's one that deals with enchantments, and then there's Commander Goff or
Yeah.
Commander Guff, which I watched. There's a channel called The Dankest Dungeon, and they do a bunch of like Commander videos,
Mm-hmm.
and they played with the 4 new decks that they were releasing.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's more, but the Commander Guff deck ended up having like so many planeswalkers in its graveyard, and then he used another card and got like 30 planeswalkers on his field.
Yeah.
And all the new decks, they just seem like super good.
Yes.
Like the
Agreed.
Eldrazi one says every time you cast a non-color spell
Mm-hmm.
or a colorless spell, it gets cascade.
Yeah.
So if you cast a like Kozilek, you're going to cascade for 13, and you're going to cascade into something big. It's pretty. They're pretty good.
Yeah, and so like there is a couple of things coming on here, and Helix is kind of asking about it. Yes, it does have some dual land reprints that will be in it. I think.
Yeah, it's got a lot of. It's got dual lands. It's got shock lands. It's got like a lot of really good stuff. Like the price point of these are going to be like in the upper like 70s or 80s, I think is what they said.
Oh, that sucks. I don't like it whenever they're
But
that high.
it is worth it. It
Uh,
is worth that price point
I
for
think
what you're getting in it.
I think I saw that one of the commanders for these decks was going to be a bard, and part of me's like really hard pressed to not attempt. I'm like, yeah, gotta try that.
Well,
Uh,
Commander Guff is kind of like a bard. You may have seen the Lord of the Rings set and thinking of Tom Bombadil
no,
because
it
he's a
wasn't that.
bard.
Well, it said his type I think was spirit or like avatar spirit or something. Uh,
I think it may be Tom Bombadil that you're thinking of. I
no,
don't know.
I don't think so. I'll find it and I'll send it to you. How about that?
You'll find it and you'll send it to me.
Right, but so this one contains
No, it's not going to be OG dual lands. It's not going to be like uh, the like $500 ones. I
mhm.
believe it's going to be like somewhat decent. The deck looks. Wow, every day we stray further from God. The deck lists can be found online now because
Yeah.
they've fully been revealed.
Right.
But like the value of the deck is actually like worth the price tag that they're supposed to be put at.
Yeah, that remains to be seen. I don't know, but like, yeah. So it looks fun, New dual land reprints, 3 new planeswalkers, and 5 other new cards that are apparently alternate win conditions. So yeah, this looks like fun. Give it
Yeah.
get excited for some MTG. And now for something that Helix brought to my attention earlier today, Overwatch League. we done talking about Overwatch yet?
Unfortunately.
Yeah, because the Overwatch League, or the OWL, as it is commonly referred to, is looking like it's on its last legs. Recently, Activision Blizzard laid off 50 employees from their esports division, which is kind of like a death bell for like the situation that they got going on. The Overwatch League has been waning in popularity for a long time. All of the
I
trouble with
wonder why.
yeah, no. All of the trouble with Overwatch 2 isn't helping. And additionally, there was something else to be said about it. Oh, yeah, yeah. I put it on the slide for a reason, so that way I could know what it was saying. But a report says that the persistence of the league, so whether or not it will continue or not, is going to be heavily dependent on the owners at the end of the season. Because at the end of the season, they're looking at contract renewals. And if it is the case that they decide to keep with it, then they're going to have to come up with like new terms for the contract renewals. But if they feel like it's just too much trouble at this point, then they're just going to let the league die altogether. So it really is going to come down to them. You know, like, do we think that we can continue pushing the Overwatch League and making it profitable, or at this point, do we just cut our losses and walk away? So
Well, I mean, if they get rid of the Overwatch League, they have more time to work on that PVE mode that they're supposed to give us.
You would think so. Helix in the chat says that one of the teams already fully disbanded, which is the Chengdu Hunters. So that's not something I knew. I knew that one of the teams that was kind of like an American team during the COVID lockdown, because, you know, they're all the players are Korean. So like during the COVID lockdowns, I think it was the Vancouver Titans. I think that was them. But I during the COVID lockdown, because they didn't want to be away from their families, you know, stuck in America, they all went back to Korea, and I think that they rebranded as a different name, as a different team. Helix says that the fusion moved to Seoul. So yeah, see, so like it's kind of been like a logistics nightmare, you know, like, and part of me always thought that it was kind of weird that we were just like picking up players from different countries to play on like teams in the Americas, you know, like why not just pick from your hometowns? But like, I don't know. That said, yeah, so you know, it's been shaky for a long time, and me personally, I used to love watching the Overwatch League. Blizzard has done a good job of killing my passion for something I once loved. You know, like it's just at this point, I just don't even know what to feel anymore. Like it's almost like, yeah, I kind of figured it would come sooner or later, but here we are.
Tune in next week when our title is Blizzard shutting down Overwatch servers.
Yeah, I know, right? So I want to say hello to Brother Gamma and Royal Gargoyle. Welcome back, guys. Again, yes, part 2. Sorry, I got a phone call, like, you know, like something really important that I was waiting on, and it's just I didn't expect it would be today. So, like, they're like, hey, you know, like, we need to talk to you. I was like, crap, man. So I was like, all right, let me just do a 2-part episode this week. I whenever like this is over, I'm gonna like put both of them into like, you know, private, and then I'm just gonna stitch them together as a Frankenstein episode and re-release it, just to make it make sense. But you know, here we are. So moving on away from Overwatch for now. Something tells me they'll be back next week. Crunchyroll.
You know it'll be back.
Oh, I know it. Crunchyroll moving into the Indian anime scene. So Crunchyroll is making huge strides trying to take over the Indian anime market, which apparently presently they don't have like a streaming service specifically for anime in India. So Crunchyroll's kind of trying to, like, you know, step in there and just take that market, you know, just take it. And a couple of things that I learned from the article that is listed in the in the comments if you guys want to check it out. Anime is apparently a $20 billion industry. I was unaware of this. Like, I always knew it was a huge industry. I didn't know it was 20 billion. So that's massive. Crunchyroll, who is owned by Sony, also something I didn't know, is looking to expand into India. Amazon and Netflix are apparently trying the same, so it looks like they're just like really bare bones whenever it comes to streaming services there. I don't know. And the biggest difficulties right now for Crunchyroll is that, since a lot of stuff is just easy to pirate, nobody has the incentive to like get themselves a paid subscription to something that they can get for free, right?
Yeah.
Crunchyroll is trying to mitigate that by like doing things like, well, we're just going to lower the price on it. So I think they said that it was going to be like the equivalent of $1 American for them over there. And additionally, they're looking to dub anime in Hindi, so that way, like now there's extra incentive because you could watch it with subtitles or you could just watch the dub and be happy with it. So that's something that's going on.
Yeah, I know. But do you know?
Now, I mean, I know now, and knowing is half the
Oh,
battle.
fight, clack, brush your teeth.
Gamma says that he likes subs on his anime. I prefer dub, to be honest. Like, and we've gotten into this before. I just, it's like I understand it better. I don't have to worry about like looking at subtitles and missing action. Which I don't feel like it's kind of a big thing for me. I'm a pretty fast reader. I have watched animes that are subbed before, just because there's not a dub available. But if there was a dub available, I would watch the dub instead. And it's also kind of like and I say this every time, but being a voice actor, I respect the craft, So like if somebody dubs something in my language, I'd rather do that because I know that there's a group of people who put effort into that. And also it's an industry I want to thrive, so that way whenever I finally get around to being a voice actor, I'll have a job. So, guys, watch dub. What are you doing? But speaking of anime, Hayao Miyazaki's last film released into Japanese theaters with no
This
advertisement.
is the last Studio Ghibli, isn't it?
No. Hayao Miyazaki is retiring. Now, mind you, he's retired
I
before.
heard it was like the last Studio Ghibli movie by him.
By him, yes, because he's not going to be around after this. He's retiring.
And then they're just shutting down Studio Ghibli.
No, I don't know if they're shutting down Studio Ghibli. I wasn't paying attention
They're
to that.
shutting down all of Japan.
All of Japan. This is the last thing you'll ever see out of Japan. They don't want to do work anymore. So what's happening here is, like I said, Hayao Miyazaki is retiring, and apparently this is the movie that he wanted to go out on. I've heard that it's got two different titles. It's either called The Boy and the Heron, or it's called How Do You Live? And How Do You Live being based off of like a novel which was released in 1937. But it's a story that it's an animated fantasy film written and directed by Hayao Miyazaki and produced by Studio Ghibli. And I believe that it revolves around a boy dealing with the death of his mother. Don't know anything more about that, but like the crazy thing here is they released
Crazy.
it. Oh boy,
I was crazy once.
yeah, here we are.
They locked me in a room,
Uh-huh.
a rubber room,
Yes,
a rubber room with rats.
indeed.
Rats make me crazy.
Do they know? But anyway,
Crazy?
yes. So the thing about this is it released with zero fanfare. Like no advertising. Like nobody knew when it was gonna release. It just suddenly it was in theaters. Like he just absolutely did nothing to tell anyone when it was coming. It's just the next day it was there. So I don't know. This is kind of
Sometimes that's just the best way to go. I mean, probably didn't want to make a big scene, just wanted to fade quietly into the night and enjoy his retirement.
yeah, like didn't want to make a huge fuss about it. However, despite the fact that he didn't want to make a huge fuss about it, the movie has done exceedingly well in its opening week. I hear.
I mean, if it's a Studio Ghibli movie.
Yeah, if there's Ghibli files out there who absolutely love everything that this studio puts out. Me personally, I'm not a huge fan of Ghibli, but like I've seen.
This is the last episode. I will see you in some other life.
Sure.
Goodbye.
But it I've seen their movies, it's just like they don't always hit the spot for me, like Ghibli, and this might be a bad comparison, but like it's almost like the Japanese Pixar. And for me, like I almost every Pixar movie I've seen has been a home run where I was like, yeah, like that totally did it for me. And I don't know if it's just like I just don't understand Hayao Miyazaki that well, or like I just like don't vibe with his style that much. But like a lot of his movies, I'm just kind of like, it's okay, it's not a bad movie, but it's also not like I don't understand like the hype. But that's me. I mean, I feel the same way about Star Wars, to be honest. So like, maybe my taste is just crap. Who knows?
I mean, I'm not gonna say that you're right.
All right, but
You're not. But
well, we're speaking of anime. We do have a couple of anime premieres, and surprisingly, you're the one that brought these to my attention, Derek. Like, we will be having a Tsukimichi season 2. This
oh, what?
Yeah, you're the one that told me about these things.
Did I?
You did. So Tsukimichi season 2 is something that's coming. I watched the first season. It's okay. It's an isekai. And it's all right. I mean, like, I don't hate it, but like it's also like not it's weird, like it's one of those isekai where like the MC is 100% overpowered, and like you rarely feel like they're in any danger, even though this anime tries to tell you that they are. I'm like, he'll be fine. Like, so yeah, I don't know how to feel about this. Gargoyle says,
Helix in the chat says crazy.
oh
I was
God,
crazy once.
yes, I know.
They locked me in a room, a rubber room with rats. Rats make me crazy. Yeah, I don't remember sending this.
You did. I promise you did. Let's see. Brother Gamma says Spanish dub. I did see a Spanish dub of Kaguya-sama, Love is War, and it was fun. Like, I thought it was good. Like normally, I don't know why, but like Spanish dubs to me sound like so forced. But like the Spanish dub for Kaguya-sama.
Watch Italian dubs. Like Italian dubs are hilarious. Like it's the exact same thing, but just the voice actors sound just so funny.
Yeah. So additionally, another anime that you also told me about is apparently we're getting a second season to Sword Art Online Alternative Gun Gale, which is
I don't remember this either.
Is so yeah, like Sword Art Online is one of those anime that like if you know, like it was a phenomenon when it first came out. It's probably what popularized. It's probably what popularized the isekai variety. And Gun Gale Online was kind of like a side story or like a spin-off or something. Whereas Sword Art Online was kind of like, super fantasy, blah blah. Gun Gale Online was like a first-person shooter, if I'm not mistaken. So also a really popular anime. Like in the Sword Art Online universe, kind of like a really fun thing. Do you honestly like not remember sending me these?
I don't.
Yep.
That's not like a bit early thing. You're just like, you sent me these, and I was like, when?
Well, I promise you did. I mean, like, anyway.
No.
According to Brother Gamma, Rurouni Kenshin has a superb Spanish dub. I never would have thought of looking at a Rurouni Kenshin Spanish dub. Like, that's like one where it would have never occurred to me. I've seen, I think I've seen, let's see, Kaguya-sama Love is War in Spanish. I've seen Spy Family in Spanish.
Okay,
but I can't
shut the fuck up right now.
Yeah.
And we're gonna address the fact that you keep doing this.
Doing what?
You know exactly what the fuck you're doing.
There was a Gargoyles movie? Really?
No. You go back and you read that damn slide. You know what you did. Look at you. You can't even hold it together. You fucking know.
So
you fucking know your sins.
So apparently there was a rumor that there was going to be a Gargoyles movie with the director of the first Thor movie, who's Kenneth Branagh. So like, and
See, even Royal is saying go back.
so like, here's the thing though. It was said that, you know, like, this was a movie, and it was this was sent to me by one of our viewers, where he says, "Hey, Gargoyles Movie, you should talk about this." And it's funny because it was by Comic Book Resources, and I've heard that Comic Book Resources isn't like really accurate, or like, you know, they're like really bad at like their articles and stuff like that. And I didn't know why they would say that, but he sent me this where it was basically an article confirming, yes, this is a thing that's happening. We're getting a Disney's Gargoyles live action movie. And then, like, by the time that I got to the article, they had an addendum at the top that was like, well, the creator of Gargoyles, Greg Wiseman, has gone on record to say that no, none of this is true. So, like, this was just kind of like a weird thing where I was like, Gargoyles movie? Hell yeah! And then, like, when I read the article, I was like, oh, no Gargoyles movie? Speaking of movies on popular, what do you call it? Popular topics there. Borderlands?
I'm I'm so fucking pissed with you right now. You don't even know.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I haven't seen any like actual details about the Borderlands movie other than there's a Borderlands movie coming out in 2024. And I mean, if it's the first story, which it probably will be, that's pretty fucking cool. If it's like the first story and then continuing on to the second and third story, that's pretty fucking cool. I don't think they'll do like the whole series as a story. Knowing my luck, it'll probably be the pre-sequel,
Yeah.
which was the game that everybody loved so much. But I can hope that it's like one of the first three games.
Yeah. I don't know.
First three as like numerically, not like chrono, not in the way they were released.
Right.
Not because no one likes the pre-sequel.
I don't know anything about Borderlands.
If you like the pre-sequel, then you're lying to yourself.
Now there was what's it called? IMDb data for like the actors who are going to be in this movie. So hold on just a second. Borderlands movie. Let me just bring it up real quick. It looks like we have Bobby Lee, Gina Gerson, Florian Munteanu, Kate Blanchett, Jamie Lee Curtis, Kevin Hart. So yeah, we have actors attached to the project.
Do they have like what their role is?
Yeah, Bobby Lee as Larry, Gina Gerson as Mad Moxie. We have Florian Munteanu as Krieg, Kate Blanchett as Lilith, Jamie Lee Curtis as Dr. Patricia something, and Kevin Hart as Roland.
Wait, Kevin Hart as Roland?
Yeah.
Roland's a big dude. Why did they put Kevin Hart as like the big dude?
Oh, who knows? It's beyond me. Now everybody keeps asking me to go back, and I don't know.
Jack Black is Claptrap.
Okay, that sounds good. I know who Claptrap is.
Ariana Greenblatt. I don't know who that is, but she's Tiny Tina. Jamie Lee Curtis is Dr. Tanis. Oh, I gotta go watch this.
Yeah, it's got big names attached to it. You know,
Charles Bablola. I don't know who that is. He's Hammerlock. So just by like the people who they have here, I'm assuming it's going to be either Borderlands 2 or 3 or something after, because Krieg doesn't come around until like Borderlands 2.
Right.
But why do they have Kevin Hart? Because I mean, Roland's not like the biggest dude.
Right.
Well, I mean, I guess it would have to be like Borderlands 2 because spoilers for Roland, but he's not around in Borderlands 3 unless it's like a flashback or like a vision type thing.
Right.
Oh, maybe it's gonna be all of them because they have someone as cast as Nox, and that was from Borderlands 1.
Oh, I couldn't tell you. But, just looking at the star power attached to this project, this is going to be a huge movie. Just,
I'm excited.
Yeah, so it's pretty dope. So, like, again, you guys keep asking me to go back. Go back to what? Look, if I click one back, we're in the Gargoyles movie. If I click another back, we're at Gale Online. We're at Tsukimichi. We're at, Hayao Miyazaki, Crunchyroll. Like, over. What are you asking me to go back to? I don't know what you're...
You know damn well what they want you to go back to.
What? I don't know. Like, what are we talking about?
You know damn well.
All right, and I think that this next one is our last one. It's what's it called? Valve says bootleg bad, and they're cracking down on bootleggers and removing shovelware from Steam. So like they're basically like going around and just like if anybody uploaded something to like their platform that just hoping to make a quick buck by either uploading like a bootleg title or like some shovelware. Or just anything like that. Valve's just being like, oh hell no. So they're bringing down ban hammers on creators and stuff like that. So I don't know what.
Well, it's gotten really bad here in the past couple of years, where like you have like $20 games that were made in like a free version of like Microsoft PowerPoint / Microsoft Photoshop. That was bootlegged off of Yoho Island.
I gotcha.
And it's just like you're paying $20 for this game that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And Valve was just finally like, okay, we're gonna start getting rid of this stuff.
Yeah, and just basically cleaning house and stuff, right? I mean, it's just kind of like yeah. You would think that would be like a normal thing that they do, but I mean, who knows? To be honest with you.
Yeah. Completely normal, 100% normal. I'm not crazy. Crazy?
Damn it!
I was crazy once. They locked me in a rubber room with rats. Rats make me crazy.
That is the third time we've done this.
I was crazy once. They locked me in a room.
A
rubber room with rats. Rats make me crazy.
But that was our last story for today.
I was crazy once. They locked me in a room.
Yes.
A rubber room. A rubber room with rats. Rats make me crazy.
With that being said, thank you for watching, everybody. Tune in this Sunday, which it still says here, tune in this Sunday for Yu-Gi-Oh! Trivia with Sky and Dareinger. We already did that, so that's not what's happening this Sunday. We don't
know what's happening.
We don't know what's happening this Sunday because we intended to make plans and then we didn't. And so it's just kind of like, whoops. I guess we'll figure something out.
We'll figure something out.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. But other than that, please remember to
like mystery stream.
Mystery stream on Sunday. You guys excited? Brother Gamesis, is it the tournament? It isn't the tournament. Tournament isn't until the week after. So guys, just thank you for watching. I know this was a 2-part episode, so I apologize for that again. It was completely out of the blue that I got just some stuff that needed my attention immediately. That said, I appreciate you guys for coming back and watching till the end. Other than that, I will return next week with the D&D Fire Emblem Engage run, so get prepared for that. And let's see, this Sunday mystery stream, we'll figure something out. You guys will be happy with what we cook up because Bard and Dare are cooking, boy. Yeah.
Crazy. I was crazy once. They locked me in a room.
Until next time, everybody.
A rubber room with rats.
Adios.
Rats make me